Let us look at this particular model in detail. When we arrive at responsible or irresponsible adulthood, whatever the case may be, we are always the product of a heritage which came before us. And this heritage loosely referred to as nature-nurture. Nature refers to our genetics, which we have very little control over, and nurture refers to those early formative years when we rolled out of our mom's womb. However, today we know that nurture does not only begin at the time that we rolled out on day naught. Nurture actually refers to influences which occurred when we were in our mother's womb, which in fact were both auditory as well as chemical. The fetal brain is already developed at 6 weeks, where it's able to perceive sounds, and also maternal hormones which reflect mom's response to her stress convert into one important one, which is cortisol. Cortisol has been studied in great detail as one of those hormones reflecting mom's situation and which crosses the placenta, enters the fetal circulation, and has a profound effect on the developing fetal brain. The specific area of the brain that it affects is the amygdala, which is the seat of fear. So in fact, the infant at that early stage has already been sensitized to fear as a result of maternal cortisol. Now, it's with this subjective worldview that we've inherited in adulthood that we attempt to make sense of our world. And so, what we refer to as the external loop, we go out into the big bad world and try and make sense of it. And if our heritage has been comprehensive and we see things as they really are, we make the right decisions, we experience success, and we return with a good feeling. Conversely, if we haven't had much of a good deal in our nature-nurture heritage, we may not see things as they really are, we make the wrong decisions, we experience failure, and we return with a negative feeling. And it is these feelings, which are housed in the feeling areas of the brain, which drive the internal loop, which in fact is the influence of feelings on the chemistry of wellness and performance. This then is the playing field as we understand it in terms of nurture, our subjective worldview, and our influences on the chemistry of wellness and performance. Let us study these feelings in a little bit more detail. On the extreme positive side is a purposeful individual, positive, optimistic, happy to get up in the morning. Now, previously in our diagnostic, this was one of the questions: are you happy to get up in the morning to engage with life? And we regarded this as being relatively unimportant. But subsequent studies, namely in the form of dissertations by some of our more senior coaches, had shown in fact statistically that this particular question, are you happy to get up in the morning and engage with life, is a very important concept and in fact reflects much of the individual. And so getting up in the morning is a hallmark. Your happiness, your motivation in getting up in the morning to engage life is a very important reflection of where you're at. The positive feeling has been quantified over many years of research and has been borne out in a description based on 3 words, and those are purposefulness, a sense of achievement, and the freedom to do this. And in fact, we now know that if these 3 parameters are in place, purposefulness, a sense of achievement, and the freedom to do this, this gives rise to the best of chemistry. Conversely, on the negative side, we have a purposeless individual, negative, pessimistic. What's it all about? What's my life all about? No real motivation to engage their day. This in itself is bad enough. However, when this individual perceives that this negative place is unchangeable, they then move into a place called hopeless helpless. Now, what does hopeless helpless mean? It's not just 2 words strung together. Hopeless refers to a meaningless, purposeless situation, which is usually stressful, and one does not see the benefit in staying in this particular place. And helpless refers to the situation where an individual does not see their way in changing this situation. And so hopeless helpless is in effect an entrapment life situation. We now know, based on many studies, that hopeless helpless gives rise to the extreme negative chemistry, which gives rise to many illness situations and other negative life situations. In fact, a study done in 2006 has shown that when one looks at heart attacks in young males and removes all the known variables that give rise to heart attacks, such as family history, hypertension, diabetes, smoking, etc., one is left with, when one looks at the full sample, the common aspect of hopeless, helpless amongst these individuals. And so this entrapment life situation has given rise to an extremely potentially lethal situation in individuals if in fact they are lost in the space of hopeless helplessness for a significant period of time. In my particular series, it has usually been a continuous 9 to 12 months. In Carl Simonton's series, it was about 6 to 18 months. So a common 1 year lost in hopeless helplessness can give rise to an extremely lethal chemical situation which impacts negatively on wellness, performance, and in certain circumstances in leadership as well.